Hey there, hope you're well. In the workshop this week, we're going to take a look at a £5 fix for this faulty Festool dust port. That's coming up next. Okay, so calling it faulty might be over-egging it a little bit, but not by much. This Festool TS55R dust port design is not the best piece of design or engineering that I've ever come across. By the looks of it, it seems to be exactly the same on the latest TS55F as well. If you've got one of these, this probably doesn't do what you want from a dust port. It certainly doesn't do what I want from a dust port. If you're new to all this and you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, let's go back and have a quick look at the history of how we got to here before we then find a solution for it. So I like a plunge saw, a track saw. I've said before many times that the track saw was pivotal in enabling me to compete at a much higher level, to up my game in the fitted furniture business. This is the first one that I ever bought from 2006. It's Festool TS55. And with this original design, Festool got a lot of things right. Not everything. The most glaring omission was on the depth of cut scale. They didn't include the thickness of the rail. Most other things, though, we could work around. This huge hole in the side here was easily taped up. And one of the other things that would drive me nuts on a daily basis was the dust port on this, because although Festool is kind of synonymous with dust collection, dust extraction, in my mind certainly, this dust port was captive, so it was fixed within here, but it would rotate, but it was never stiff enough. It would always work its way around to the most awkward position when you least wanted it to be in that position. And like many people, I ended up just taping this up on this one and another one of the same sort of vintage that I bought as a spare. So we kind of rejoiced a little bit when much later on, much further down the line, the TS55R was announced, the revised version, which would fix all these problems. But Festool managed to do the unthinkable. Instead of fixing this, they actually made it worse. So when we finally got the TS55R, the revised version, we did get a few improvements. This one's from 2017, and we got the dual scale on the depth of cut. Finally, absolutely nothing was done about the hole in the side of the blade guard there, but they did give a lot of attention to the dust port, but all the wrong sort of attention. They seem to be obsessed with fixing something that I'm not aware anybody has had a problem with. Instead of having the regular, plain, simple rubber dust port that simply fits, we've got this crazy bayonet system which is designed to stop it falling off. Now, I've never ever had a dust hose fall off the dust port unless I was doing something stupid, unless I was overstretching, overreaching, at which point it's probably a good thing for that dust port to let go to remind you that you're doing something daft. Instead, though, what we've got, as well as this bayonet system, is this ratcheting thing. This doesn't stay still at all. You can't lock it in any single position. So as soon as you put a hose on there, it falls down. You can't do anything at all with that. Now, this is all the more galling because by this time we'd started getting cheap and cheerful basic saws in, like this one. This is the Titan that I looked at when I compared it with one of the Festools before. They have a much simpler system. It's a two-part dust port. So one part is fixed onto the saw like this, and the other part is separate, and it's just a simple friction fit, and you can put that in and angle it to wherever you want it to be at that particular time, and it will stay there. You don't have to do anything clever with it. It's the simplest bit of engineering you could possibly come across, and it just works. But back to Festool's engineers, they did actually do us one favour. That's the fact that you can actually remove this and put it where it belongs. So whilst the removal of this is an extremely good thing, it does give us a bit of a dilemma. While you can sort of jam the hose in there, it's not great, and it will work its way loose. Plus you lose the ability to change the angle of it, which is very useful. What you might be thinking, well, why not buy the spare part and use that? Well, firstly, it's kind of loosey-goosey, and secondly, a lot of other entry-level saws don't sell spare parts. I did try getting a DeWalt spare part, and that does sort of kind of fit. I have to admit the possible A video title of DeWalt Fix My Festool was almost too good to miss, but it just doesn't work very well, or certainly not well enough. Fortunately though, the answer comes in the shape of Triton Tools, who do carry spare parts, including the dust port that we need. I'll put a link down below to the Triton spare parts website, including the product number that you actually need. So what do we need to do to adapt this to our Festool saw? As I said earlier on, it's a little bit loosey-goosey in there as it is. We could just wrap a fair few turns of tape around that and sort of jam it in and hope for the best. But I'm going to do something a little bit more sophisticated. Not a lot, just a little bit more. And that's the old inner tube trick. I've shown this one before, and I'll link up those videos down below. But it's a real simple, easy one. You get an old bicycle inner tube. This is 1.5 inches. And we're going to take a couple of inches off that, roughly. We will need to wrap a couple of lengths of tape around this to start with, because it is, even with the inner tube, it's a little bit too loose. So one and 2 turns around like that, and we just fold the ends in, and then we just pop that inner tube over it. Make sure it goes on nice and snug. And then we just pop those ends in. And that is the perfect fit for our Festool. So there we are, that's my solution to this Festool problem. Seriously, Festool engineers, if there are any watching, how you can put your hand on your heart and say, this is the best I can do, let alone this is good enough, it's just beyond me. This is a simple, effective and cheap solution that works extremely well. I've been using it for a fair few weeks now without any problems at all. While my Patreon and member credits roll, and thanks ever so much to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members for their support of the channel, while my credits for those guys roll, I'm just going to mention the 3D printing aspect of this. I know there are probably people bellowing 3D printing at the screen at me. If you want to have a go at making one of these, be my guest. I'll put a link to a drawing that I've done for this to give the approximate sizes of what you need to do. I paid about £3 or £4 for this piece, but by the time it was shipped to me, it was about £10, so $12 or $13, something like that. That's your sort of target price. If you want to make these and make them available for sale through an Etsy store or on eBay or something, be my guest. Send me the links to them and I'll put them in the video description and promote them for you, because this really is the simplest and most basic solution that works just extremely well. I'm really pleased to have it. As I say, I've had it for a fair few weeks now and it's been absolutely flawless. That's it for this week's video though. Thanks ever so much for watching. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time. Hi there, hope you're well. In the workshop this week we're going to take a look at a £5 Hi there, hope you're well. Hi there, hope you're well. In the workshop this week, I'm going to take a look at a £5. Hi there, hope you're well. In the workshop this week, we're going to check. If you don't have one of these, well, let's have a quick look at some history and see how we got to here before we get to figure it. That was so close.